Yo, I want to ask you a question. I'm gonna ask you a question, and I want you to think about it. I want it to resonate with you. Are you living a life on design, or are you living a life on default? I'm gonna say it again. Are you living a life on design, or are you living a life on default? Here's what I'm gonna say before I get into this. If you love your life and you feel like your life is cushy and everything is good, maybe not everything is exactly how I want it, but I'm really happy and I don't want to grow. I just kind of want to stay here. I'm going to tell you now, click off of this video. Click off of it. Because if you stay, here's what's going to happen. I'm about to pull out a red pill and I'm about to give it to you. I'm going to say it again for those of you who ain't seen The Matrix. I'm about to pull out a red pill and I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to give you a pill that will expose if you are living a life on design or if you are living a life on default. The reason I say click off this video, I'm not saying that to be fly. I'm not saying that to be arrogant. I mean, for real, you got to click off this video, because if you don't, if you never heard of the word or the term cognitive dissonance, what I'm about to say and what I'm about to expose, if they don't even suppress this video, what I'm about to say and what I'm about to expose might break some of your brains. No, I'm being serious. I'm being dead serious. And before I answer this question, I'm going to give you a super short story of what I mean when I say breaking your brain and like causing cognitive dissonance. Like I'm not even I'm not even joking. I used to be in the Marine Corps. And when I was in the Marine Corps, I had discovered some things about our government and our military, and specifically within my unit, that we were told it was this way, but in reality it was this way. And when I found out that it was this way, I went and I began to share that with a few other Marines that I knew. And for one guy, there was a guy who came from another nation, joined our military. This was his whole life. This was his life plan. He never talked to me again after these conversations, because he says, I don't want to know this. I don't want to know this, because that means that everything that I've done, everything I've worked for to get here is for nothing. I had another Marine tell me, he says, hey, Corporal Haywood, have you ever heard that ignorance is bliss? I say, yeah. He says, I want to be blissful. You're taking my bliss away. Stop telling me these things. They didn't dispute if they were true or not. Okay, see, that's a key point. This is why I'm saying click off this video. They didn't say, hey, that's a lie, or it was undebatable. When you're hit with a truth that is undebatable and it throws everything you think, know, and believe out of whack, it can really mess your mind up. So that's why I said, hey, when I answer this question that I want you to think about, are you living a life on design or are you living a life on default? If you feel really happy, you don't want to grow, you don't want to see truth, you don't want to see reality, you got to click off this video. It will throw everything out of whack. Now, I'm about to get into it, but before I do, I want to say this one other thing. There are 3 people who will hear this message, 3 different types of people, okay? And this is why I said click off, because you got to determine what type of person you think you're going to be. Person number 1 is going to hear this and be like, wow, that's true. It's freaking undebatable. I don't like it, therefore I'm going to do something about it. I don't like what he's saying. I do see that it is true. Now I'm equipped and empowered to do something about it, which means my life is ultimately going to become better. There's those type of people. Then you have the other people who are going to say, nah, whatever. It was entertaining to hear that. It's a point of view, but it's not real. And they'll have their head in the sand. And those are the ignorance or bliss people, right? Because sometimes ignorance is ignoring what you know to be true, or ignoring something that is true so that you believe that it's not true. Okay. Those are going to be the other ignorance or bliss people. They're going to be fine if they watch this. Now, the third type of person are the people that I said you got to click off. They're going to see this. They're going to hear it. They're going to know it's true. It's going to mess their freaking mind up, and they're not going to know what to do with themselves. So hopefully you're the first type. Here we go. Are you living a life on design or default? Here's what it means. A life of design is a life where you have purposely chosen, orchestrated, and constructed the life that you want, not because you've been led to think that you want this life, but because you are logically and critically aware of every single option, and you have made a choice in your life based off of your purpose. You have chosen to do the things that you do or to avoid the things that you don't do because of your purpose. You have been a purpose-driven decision maker. That's a life on design. You have chosen to forego this career even though it paid more and had more prestige because you knew that it would take you away from what you are designed and purposely created to do. That's a life of design. Now let's talk about a life of default. Here is the life of default. Because you might say, what the heck did this guy just say? What does that even mean? I'm going to break it down. Here's what it means. Let me show you the default path. At least in America, this is the default path, okay? And it might be the same way in your nation. It just might look a little different, but you'll notice there's a default path, okay? This is the red pill. I'm about to show you the matrix. Here's the red pill. Now here's the red pill, okay? When you grow up, you go to school. You go to elementary school, and think about it. When you're in elementary school, they say, little Johnny, what do you want to be when you grow up? Oh, I want to be a race car driver. I want to be an artist. I want to be a painter. I want to be a basketball player. I want to go to the moon. I want to change the world and design this Jello pack, whatever your dreams are. And everyone around you, your mom, your dad, your teachers, they say, oh, that's such a wonderful goal, little Jimmy. Go for it. You can do it. And then you go to middle school and all those goals and those dreams that you've been told to go after in your life, now you're being told, hey, Big Johnny, it's time that you think a little bit more seriously. You really should be focused on your SATs. Why? So you can get into a good college. Why? So you can get a good job. Why? So you can pay off the money that you're going to go into debt for college. What? Yeah. So little Jimmy, here's what you need to do. You need to say, forget your dreams. Forget the fact that the dreams and the desires that you have were placed in there for a reason, that for you to accomplish something that only you could accomplish. Forget those goals and those dreams. Forget everything we told you in the first 5 years of elementary. Forget everything we told you the next 3 years of middle school. Forget everything we told you the first 3 years of high school. You're a senior now. You need to be serious about life now. You need a backup plan. Here's the deal. You need to get into a good college so that you can get a good job, so that you can make enough money to go into debt to buy a car to drive you to that job, so that you can make enough money to qualify for debt on a home, so that when you spend 60 to 80 hours a week at your new job, forget the fact that you got $1 million home, $500,000 home just sitting there halfway unoccupied most of the time. You got to plug into this economic system of wage slavery and be a productive citizen. Oh, well, they don't say it like that now, do they? No. They say, hey, you got to have a plan A. Isn't that amazing? We tell little kids to go after their goals, go after their dreams. But those of us that have failed to succeed at our dreams, those of us that have failed to have the courage to go after what we want to do, will tell other people, don't do that. Don't do that. That's a life of default. It is the life of default. Think about it. Most of the people that so now watch this, okay? Because that's the first seed. That's the first seed of living a life on default. Now I'm going to show you how it robs you of your purpose, which is a life of design. Man, forgive me for this freaking beeping, but y'all got to hear this, okay? Here's what the life of default does. It causes you to give up your dreams, your goals, and your purpose to plug into an economic system of slavery. You go to college because that's what you've been defaulted to do. Some of you don't go to college. You go into the trades and you actually do better than those who go into college. But here's what happens, okay? You buy the car, you go into debt with the student loans, you get a home. Now you have 30 years of debt on a home. You have 5 years, 60 months of debt on a car. You got God only knows how much freaking debt on the college. And here's what happens. When you realize that you hate what you're doing, and you no longer want to do it, you can't stop. You can't stop because, and here, let me show you why you can't stop. I want to pause you here. I want to show you why you can't stop. Okay, watch this. Watch this. Whenever you go up to somebody and you say, hey, what do you do for work? Watch how they answer. Think about it. Tell me which one do you hear? When you say, hey, what do you do for work? Do you hear people say, oh, I fight fire for work? Or, oh, I teach students for work? Or do they say, I'm a firefighter? I'm a teacher? Do you hear people say, when you ask them, what do you do for work? Oh, I perform heart surgery. Or do they say, I'm a cardiologist? What has now happened is this life of default that has pushed you through college into a career path that a lot of times has nothing to do with your goals, dreams, desires, or purpose. Your new identity has now become an identity of your career. I'm a surgeon. I'm a teacher. I'm a firefighter. I'm a welder. I'm a landlord, whatever it might be. And now what happens is when you plug into this system and you deal with all the politics, you deal with the fact that you don't want to wear a mask or you don't want to get a shot, or you don't like the fact that they don't allow you to practice your religion at work. Now what happens when you decide, when you start to open up and wise up and see a little bit of the matrix and you decide, I don't want to do this anymore, you're stuck. You're stuck. And the reason that you're stuck is because this is what you say, man, but this job paid me $80K. This job paid me $50K. This job paid me $100K. And I done already agreed to these 60 months worth of payments on this car. I done already agreed to these 30 years worth of payments on this home. I done already agreed to these 10 payments on this suit. I done already agreed to these 10 payments on this Rolex. And now what happens is all these little trinkets of success, the house, the car, all these things that you have bought to give yourself status and to validate your false identity, you don't want to give them up. Because what will the people think of me if I go bankrupt? What will the people think of me? Not if I lose my job. See, we say to ourselves, what would they think of me if I lose my job? What do they think of me if I get fired? What do they think of me if I quit? We say that, but in reality, what we really mean is, what will they think of me if I am no longer a doctor? In other words, what we're saying is, what will they think of me if I'm no longer who I am? Ooh, well, I'm dropping it. Now you are truly plugged into the matrix. Now you are really living a life on freaking default. Now you are really a wage slavery. And there's different levels of wage slavery. It's like this, bro. It's like the slaves back in the day. You had the house slaves and you had the field slaves. Now, the house slaves thought that they were better than the field slaves, right? They thought that they were better than the field slaves, but the reality is they're both slaves. One slave just got a little bit better. The house slave, he in dirty overalls. So, you know, when you look at him, his symbol of status, which are the overalls, you can tell he's a field slave. But the house slave, he might have pressed slacks. He might have his hair slicked back. You know what I mean? He may not be a sunburn, and you can look at him when you see him, and you as a slave look at that slave and you say, man, look at that. Look at that hair. Look how nice his skin is because he's not sunburned. Wow, look at those slacks. Wow. And you want to aspire to be like that. But the reality is you're still aspiring just to be a higher paid slave. Your purpose was never to be a slave. His purpose was never to be a slave. You see what I'm saying? That's the matrix. Let me move my camera a bit. So that's what I'm asking you. Are you living a life on default, or are you living a life on design? Bruh. So in my other video, I talked about one of the number one things you need to do is get wisdom. See, this is why you need to get wisdom, because when you get wisdom, you'll start to see these things and you'll start to ask, well, God, what is my purpose? And when you have enough wisdom to ask that question, you'll then have enough wisdom to say, once you get your answer, to accept it. And then you'll have enough wisdom to say, well, God, how do I become the person you've designed me to be? Show me a path to do the things you've created me to do when I become who you designed me to be. So here's my question. When I say, are you living a life on design, or are you living a life on default? Are you living the life that God has designed for you to live? Are you the person that God has created you to be? Or have you plugged into this world, which is the matrix, a Babylonian economic system, and pimped yourself out to 20, 30 years of servitude and found your identity in what you do for work as opposed to the identity of who God has called you to be? I used to live a life on default. I came from the ghetto. I came up out the mud. Is that how you say it? I don't know. I get it. I don't know how they say it, get it out the mud or whatever. That was me. I was always teased. You see what I'm saying? Other slaves teasing me. Oh, why he got pro wings on? Oh, look at his haircut. He got a chili bowl, yada, 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 yada. So I said, man, when I grew up, I'm not going to be like that. Forget what my goals and my dreams are. I'm just not going to be talked about. I'm going to make some money. So I go to school, I go to college, because that's how you make money, right? You got to go to college. Forget your goals, forget your dreams, forget all these other ways. You want to make money, you need to go to college, right? So I go to college, I go to school for finance, and I get this really prestigious job at this prestigious firm, and I'm making good money, and I put a suit on every day and I feel good about myself. And if you ask me what I did for work, I wouldn't tell you what I did for work, but I would identify who I am by what I did for work. And I wore a suit and I felt good. Now look at me when I'm in the post office. Look, you're dressed in a green jacket. I'm dressed in a freaking suit, big dog. Oh, look at your watch. Oh, what is that? It's a Timex. I got a Breitling. You know what I mean? Just one slave looking at another slave. All slaves to our desires, all slaves to making money, all slaves to the corporate system. So there it is, dog. You living a life on design or you living a life on default? God has called you to live a life of design. God has called you to design your life around the path that he's called you to walk and to go do that. So I want to challenge you this week. Ask yourself, am I living a life on design or default? And if you now know if you are, that's the red pill. And if you're living a life on default, here's what you need to do. Two things. It's very simple. One, are you even saved? If you're not saved, you can't do the second thing. And the second thing is to get wisdom. Now, if you're saved, you need to ask God for wisdom. If any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives to all men liberally. That's like that's like a whole bunch. Liberally, like it's a lot, right? That's the only liberalism we really like, right? A whole bunch of wisdom. And then when you get wisdom, you will begin to see what I'm talking about. And then you will come to God and ask him, God, who have you designed me to be? Show me, give me clarity, give me discernment, and allow me to walk in that. One, if you're saved, now it's time to move on to two, get wisdom. And then when you get wisdom, ask God and get to doing. I'm out.